Hi guys, welcome to my new YouTube video. We'll be discussing about the arrays in our C++. Up to now, we are only familiar with classes, objects, and constructors, destructors, and what are member functions, and how we are going to access the uh, private member data and all that stuff. But we are going for the new topic, arrays. Here we'll be discussing about the array of objects. First, we are going to take objects in the form of arrays, for example 1 to 60, and after that in second example we'll be discussing about the arrays inside our class. I mean how we are going to take arrays inside class and how we are going to scan them. I mean how we are going to get the input from a uh, class. Okay, these are the two topics. These are very simple and easy. So I'll be discussing 2 points regarding this, and after I'll be moving on to the coding part. Okay, let me take a simple example. Mm, for example, in a company, employees are working, right? So for each employee, we are having their details, name, and their salary and their ID, something like that. For each employee, for example, think three different parameters are required. So if you want to know each person ID, username, and for example, email or salary to calculate, we have to, for example, for second person, we have to calculate two more, three more. So for third person we have to three more. So let me take this. uh, where are these? Okay, this is the main motto. I was saying that we cannot take and multiple objects, right? For each object, if we are going to decide if this is an object, we have to take three more parameters. For another object, if we are going to have three more parameters. In a company, thousands of people are working, right? So we cannot I mean we cannot give large number of objects in a function. So that's why we are going to take like array of objects. For example, we know that what is meant by array. Array is the collection of similar data types which are stored in an uniform collection manner. So I mean whatever the objects that are present, I mean in the same class objects are stored. For example, this is, for example, take class as employee. So whatever the objects we are having, for example, emp is our object, right? A single object. If you are going to assign 10 more objects, so simply write e of 10, so that will become a array of objects. I mean e1, e2, e3, e4, e of 0, e of 2, e of 9 will be a total objects, array of objects. So this is it. I hope you are clear with the theory part. So I'm simply taking two functions, taking ID and name of an employee, and then I'll be printing their names and whatever, what is it, ID and name, right? ID and name. So that's it. By taking many objects, up to now we have seen only the single object, right? With the single object we are going to take input and print the output, but here we are taking large number of objects. So that is new in this topic, arrays of objects. Okay, hash include as always, and then using namespace std. After that we are defining class as employee. As employee details are very uh, private, so we are assigning their id and then character name into private. I mean the default in our class is private, right? So that's not a big deal, we already know that. After that we are going to take input from a user, void get cin of id and then name. So this is it. For more user understandable, I'll be writing enter id and name. So that's it. Our input function has been completed. After that we are going to take the input from a user. After that we are going to simply print it. So void put C out of first ID and then name. So that's it. Let's close our class by semicolon. So this is not new. We have already learned that whatever the member functions that we are assigned, it is an inline member function, and the parameters are private. So with the help of member functions, we are going to take the private data into member functions. After that, we are going to use the from main function, we are going to access them, right? So this is normal. So into main, in that whatever employee is a class, right? So employee of, for example, I'm taking 60 employees. Okay, so in that 60 employees, if I want to take only 10 employees ID and name, so I'll be taking integer n, right? For, so before that, let me write enter number of employees. After that, c in of n, and n is an integer type, integer n. So I'm reading integer, I mean how many number of employees we are going to need, I'll be taking that as input. So if I'm checking if, because if n is less than 1, because there are no employees, right? And for example, if n is greater than 60, then it is no use. I mean objects are extended. This is not a dynamic memory allocations, right? We are simply taking static memory. So if I'm checking if n is less than or equal less than 1, and n is greater than 60, because we have put a limit only up to the what do you say, 60 only, right? We cannot exceed or we cannot take less than that value. So I'll be printing wrong size. So that's it. After that, for example, if my n is 10, so I have to take e of 1, e of 0, e of 1, e of 2, e of 3, e of 4, up to e of 9, right? So for that, I'll be using a loop, for loop. For in C++, we can write integer in a for loop also. Integer I equals to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. After that, here is the important part. So every time we are going to use, for example, employee, right? E dot get, I mean e dot put, for example, sample s dot get, s dot put. But here is e of I dot get. So first initially I will be 0, so e of 0 dot get. After that I will be increased, e of 1 dot get, e of 2 dot get, up to n, right? Whatever the number of elements we have, so up to n we are going to print it. So that's it. After that, we write id and names are, id and names are. Okay, again using for integer I equals to 0, I less than n, I plus plus, and then c out of first d, and then I'll be printing name. So that's it. Let's check once again from the beginning. So this is good. Hash include is perfect. Using namespace, okay. Class employee, okay. ID and name, okay, perfect. In a public, get is perfect. Endel, everything is correct. I mean semicolons are perfect. Integer ID and name perfect. Input we are going to take. Okay, here we are printing. Okay, so every time you are going to write id and name, right? So here id and names are printed. After that, this is printed. Okay, no issues. Put is fine. After that, in main function, employee of 60, number of employees, okay, integer n, c in of n. If n is less than n and n is greater than 60, wrong size, okay, this is fine. And else we are going to print this for I equals to 0, I less than n, e of I dot get, okay, for every e of I we are going to read the values, right? So this is perfect. Okay, let's compile. See out id. Okay, we don't have to sorry guys, we don't have to write this function, right? Because we are having e of I dot put function. Okay, small mistake. So okay, I'm taking for example three employees, enter id, one and Ali, and then second id person two and Irshad, and third person is 3 and Rahman. So I'll be getting one Irshad, one Ali, two Irshad and 3 Rahman. So with the help of arrays we are printing very simply. But if we are having, for example, if not arrays, we have to write, I mean, three different objects for three different IDs. So that would be long. So that's why we are using arrays of objects. So let's check once again. I'll be giving two inputs. Number of employees is, for example, is 2. First is 1, and then name is Ali, and 2, and then it is Irshad. So first ID name is 1 and Ali, and second is 2 and Irshad. Okay, this is perfect. Let's move on to our second question. What is it? Arrays inside class. Okay, here we have used arrays in objects, right? And here we are going to use arrays in our class. So let's move on to that part. How we are going to perform this. Mm, Up to here, everything is same. That is, include is same. Using namespace std. After that, here I'm using student. Okay, before we have done the we have taken large number of objects, right? But here we are going to take a, I mean, marks of an student. For example, if he is having six different marks, I mean, if he gets fail in any one of the subjects, then he gets fail, right? So to check this, similarly we can check with the help of for loop. But here we are having objects, right? Objects and classes. So it is very difficult to point out each object. For example, if an object is pointing at 1 marks and it only single marks, and then single name and single id. So for a person, single id and single name has failed, but in other subjects he has passed, that his percentage is greater than something 85, then he gets a. So we cannot define large number of objects like that. So with the help of I mean array of we are using arrays in our class itself only. So that is our main motto: integer id, and marks would be 6. For example, Telugu, Hindi, English, Maths, Physics and Chemistry, and then character would be my name. Okay, this looks good. After that, in public, and before we have discussed that whenever a function member function is going to get long, we are not declaring in a class, because class is only the important points to be covered. I mean, it should be very fast, right? So I'll be discussing all the member functions outside this class, but definition should inside our class. So that's why I'm writing void, and then first I'll be getting a data. So this is my declaration part, and void put my be declaration part. Okay, it is completed. After that, void, if you are writing a member function outside the class, first return type of a member function, it is void, and then if you are using the class name, after that scope operator, and then a function name symbol. Okay, after that we have integer id, marks, and this all stuff, right? So let's take mm, let us create cout, enter id and name first. C in id and name. Here we cannot directly take input as marks, right? Because we are having six different marks. So for that, so for I equals to 0 to I less than 6, I less than 5 would be fine, because we are taking from the initializing of 0, right? So I plus plus C in of marks of I. So with that, with this for loop, we are going to take marks of 0 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 5. I mean, whatever the elements present in a, uh, if you want to give the user, we are writing that. Okay, this looks good. And let's move on to put function. Void is a return type, and after that our class name, student is our class name, with the help of scope operator and simply function name. Okay, let us, okay, for example here, if a student gets out of 500, if he gets 400, but in one subject he gets failed, then that means he gets failed, right? We cannot say that he's passed and with a percentage of A. If he gets failed at any single subject also, then he gets failed. So that's we are going to find out, and before that we are going to find out the total marks of that student. Okay, for that I have taken total will be initializing with 0, and after that first I'll be printing student ID and name, ID, and after that let's write NS is for space, and then name would be printed. Okay, this looks good. After that, for initializing for int I equals to 0 and then I less than 5, I plus plus, I have to add the values and insert into my total equals to total plus marks of I. Okay, good. Okay, we have taken the total marks. If you want to return the total marks, we can also return. But here we have to check if the person has got any marks less than 35, then he gets failed, right? So for that, for I equals to 0 and I less than 5, I plus plus, if marks of I is less than 35, we have to simply print as student field, and else cout pass student passed. Okay, this is a put function. Let's move on to main part. Okay, declaration. First we have to call a get function, right? So before that I'll be taking a single object. With that object I'll be defining large number of arrays in a class. So student is my class name, and S should be my object, s dot get, and after that simply s dot put. That's it. So let's check again our code once again from the starting. Okay, iostream using namespace std class student. After that we are taking id and marks would be of my 5, 0 to 5 marks. So no issues, 1 to 10. And then character name, okay, public void get and void put. Okay, that's fine. And void student, and then with the help of scope operator we are going to I mean mix class name and a member function. Okay, cout enter id and name. Okay, and let's move on to, it is going to read c in id and name. Okay, that looks good. And for I equals to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus, we are going to take the student marks, right? Marks of 5. Okay, and then we have to simply print it, total equals to 0. Okay, and then cout id and then name. Okay, for I equals to 0, I less than 5, total equals to total plus marks of I. And then for I equals to 0, we are checking if the student getting, is he passed or failed with this for loop. Okay, if he's getting less than 35, he gets failed. Okay. Here we are going to get each time, what do we say? Count equals to 0. One example. And I'll be taking another integer count. Count equals to 0. Count equals to 1. If the person gets, it is initially 0, right? If he gets passed, he will be simply, I'm writing like, for example, this is my closing tag, right? If count equals to gets 1, he gets passed. See out. And then else he gets failed. Here why I have not written cout passed and interest, because for every marks of I it will be printing passed or failed, pass or failed, but I have to know if the student is passed or not. So for example, if he gets failed, count will be 0. If he gets passed, then okay, for example, if he gets count equals to 1 and then count equals to 0, if anything is 1, he will get failed, right? Failed. And then if it is still 0, he will get passed. Okay, control S, new to integer, and here also integer. So that's it. Let's check. Enter ID and a name. So I have not declared marks, right? So enter marks, cout, enter 5 marks. So ID is 1, name as Ali, 10, 20, 50, 90, 100. So here I'm getting passed, right? 101. If cout, I mean if greater less than 35, it should print as cout failed. After that I have to simply write like break. So no need of this. If cout is count is 0, then he gets passed. So 1, 30, 10, 70, 80, 90, 100. So first failed, so he gets failed, right? So let's check for each and every subject. If he gets failed, I'll be printing writing as failed, and if he gets passed, I'll write passed. Let's write in another indel. So it's taking a little bit. Okay, 1, and then name would be Mayali. 10, 80, 90, 70, and 70. So one subject I've got failed, right? So it is printing like failed. So that's it. This is my ID and this is my name, and I got failed. So this is what of about arrays of objects and arrays in our class. So I hope you are clear with this arrays and C++ concept. I mean objects and classes. And in next topic we'll be discussing about more C++ concept, friend function, and how we are going to write a syntax of friend function, and then copy constructors and many more. So stay tuned, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you find this video informative, then please share as much as possible. So that's it for our video. Thank you so much for watching till the end.